Today we're going to go over multi-step equations. So this is a two-step equation. Here's an example of one. Px plus q equals r. So in order to solve this, the first thing I need to do is I need to locate the variable. And my variable in here is going to be the x. Second, I'm going to go ahead and undo the addition and the subtraction to remove q. So remember, if I do it to one side, I must do it to both sides. So maybe it'll say up here is operations to both sides. Okay, there's something to pay attention to and to remember. My third step is going to be undoing the multiplication or division to remove p. So p right here is connected to x. It doesn't show me, there's no operation that I see here, but I know if I have a number and a letter connected together, or two letters together, in between there's a little dot, so that is connected by multiplication. So the inverse operation of multiplication is division. And the fourth step is going to be check your solution. Here are some examples. 5 plus 8p equals 77. So the first step is I need to go ahead and get everything that is not connected to my variable away. So since I have 5 here and 8 is connected to p, I'm going to start with the 5. So 5, if I look at that, it's a constant by itself. There is no sign in front of it. If there's no sign in front of it here, I know that is a positive number. Okay, so if I know that is a positive number, in order to cancel that out on that side, I would need to do the inverse operation of addition. So remember, addition, the inverse is subtraction, and multiplication, the inverse is going to be division. So the inverse operation of adding something would be to subtract it. So if I have to do it, I have to do it to both sides. 5 take away 5 will cancel out to 0. 77 take away 5 is 72. So bring the rest of the information down. I have 8p equals 72. Now, for the next step, 8 is connected to p. Remember, there's this little dot in between those that I can't see. So 8p is the same as saying 8 times p. Okay, I'm going to write that off to the side here. So 8p really means 8 times p. So 8 times p, the inverse operation of multiplication is division. So if I divide this by 8, I have to divide this side by 8. 8 divided by 8 gives me 1. It'll cancel out. I equal with p. And then 72 divided by 8. So that's saying 8 goes into 72 how many times? 8 goes into 72 9 times. P equals 9. Now, if I want to check my answer and bring that back up top, so I can go ahead and write 5 plus 8 parentheses 9 equals, as long as that equals 77, we are correct. So something to remember, when you put a number replacing in a variable in an equation or an expression, put parentheses around what you just put in. So I said p is 9, so I'm going to put parentheses around and put 9 in for exactly where the p was. So now 8 times 9, because we need to do order of operations. So 8 times 9 gives me 72. 8 times 9 gives me 72. Bring this stuff down. 5 plus 72 equals 77. That is exactly what I had up top, so that check is correct. Now looking at our next example over here, I have negative n plus 2 equals 7. So remember, negative n really means negative 1n, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to get everything away that's done by addition or subtraction, okay? I want to leave my variable, so my n on one side, and I want to get everything else to the other side. Remember, if I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other. So right here, I have plus 2. Well, plus 2, the opposite of that, or the inverse, if I have $2 and I want to zero it out, I need to subtract 2. So if I subtract 2 from that side, I have to subtract 2 from this side. So 2 minus 2 will cancel out. I'm left with negative n equals 7. Take away 2 gives me 5. So I have negative n equals 5. Well, it looks like we're done, but I cannot have a negative variable. My variable needs to be positive over here, okay? I needs to say just n, not negative n. So if negative n really means negative 1 times n equals 5, well, times 1, here's a multiplication. The inverse operation would be to divide by negative 1. So if I divide by negative 1 and I divide by negative 1, these will cancel out, and I will equal x equals, and 5 divided by negative 1 is negative 5. So n equals negative 5. I can go ahead and put that back into my equation and see if we are correct. So let's go find a different color. So negative, parentheses, negative 5 plus 2 equals, I don't know. Now this is where it's important to put parentheses around what I put in, because the equation already has a negative sign here. But I said n is negative 5, so I have parentheses times parentheses. So what does this say? This says negative 1 times negative 5. Well, negative times a negative is going to give me a positive. So if I do negative 1, so negative 1 times negative 5 gives me just 5. Bring the rest of the information down. 2, 5 plus 2 equals 7. So that is indeed correct. Okay, so here are 2 more examples. This looks intimidating, but let's do it step by step. Okay, so I can't add or subtract anything first because this is divided by negative 4. So I have to start with the first step I can. Negative 4a plus 5 divided by negative 4. So what is the opposite of division? The opposite of division is multiplication. So if I want to divide it all by negative 4, the opposite would be to times it all by negative 4. So this will cancel out. I will have a plus 5 equals, and then negative 3 times negative 4 is 12. Because I have a negative times a negative, my answer will be positive. Now, the problem looks a little less scary. So plus 5, the inverse would be to subtract, right? So if I subtract 5, I have to do that to both sides. Whatever I do to one side, I must do to the other. That will cancel out. The a will fall down. And 12 minus 5 is 7. A equals 7. Okay, looking at the next example. I have an 8 here. I don't see a symbol in front of that 8, so I know it must be positive. The opposite is to subtract 8. If I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other. Also remember, I'll give you don't know if when you learned it originally there was this cute little river at the equal sign. You can't pass it. Sometimes it helps people, sometimes it doesn't. If it does, feel free to do that. Those will cancel out. Negative 13 minus 8 leaves me with negative 21. Bring the rest of the information down. I have negative 7 over 2 times m equals negative 21. Now, I have a fraction right here. I have negative 7 divided by 2 times m equals negative 21. So if I have a fraction, a way to cancel out a fraction, remember, is to times by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of this would be 2 over 7, negative 2 over 7 times that side, now times this side by negative 2 over 7. These would cancel out, leaving me with just m. And remember, I can make any number a fraction by putting it over 1. So negative 21 times negative 2 is 42. Because negative, negative, positive. So remember fractions, I times the numerator, get new numerator, times the denominator, get new denominator. 1 times 7 gives me 7. 7 goes into 42. How many times? The answer is it goes in 6 times. So m equals 6.